Mic check. I do notice I do come in a little loud sometimes on the broadcast. Well, sometimes I just get a little excited, but... Oh, good. Dowdler, Joey, and Hogan finally joined the team chat. Yeah. He replaced Danny. Yeah. Yeah, he's been getting busy on Thursdays, so he decided to step back. Oh, and Wimble is in the 27th tonight. I finally downloaded Stint Analyzer and remembered to run it during the broadcast, and I can see everybody's averages now.
Good evening, and thanks once again for joining us here on Speed Racing Network. I'm Greg Olenek, and you've already heard Brandon Domain a little bit giving me some notes before this one. He's joining me again here tonight for night number 3 here in Week 5 at Atlanta, the newly paved Atlanta. This is going to be an exciting one here. I hope everybody kind of finishes this one. We got a big field here tonight, and it's almost like super speedway racing. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. And I've test run by myself out there. I was watching practice for the past hour or so, and I still don't know what we're going to be seeing out here in this race. It's going to be absolutely wild. It's going to be a lot tighter, I think, in the draft for these guys than what they might be anticipating because of the speed that they're going to be carrying around this racetrack. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Well, let's go ahead and check out those points here in the Silverback Series. Joshua Balliet taking over the top spot after last week's win out of Watkins Glen. Glad you and Sean could cover that for everybody as I was out in Tennessee, but it looked like a good one as he took the win over Schumacher, and I believe Benson was up there as well. Vincent Cortez there in P number 2, Seth Reed in that 3rd position. Jacob Manning and Kyle Benson, who I just mentioned, rounding out the top 5. There you see Jeffrey Radke, first driver below the cut line.
Yeah, and that 4-point gap, it's something that you can definitely make up, but it's something that you do want to start thinking about as we're hitting a third of the way through the regular season here. But one thing that feels good, if you're Joshua Balliet, and pretty much if you're Vincent Cortez as well, you're just about a full race ahead of that cut line in terms of the point margin there. So they're getting to be in a very comfortable position as we get to this great unknown of Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, getting to that middle portion of the season as well, where every week is going to matter, so they got to perform here tonight. Let's check out the team results from week number 4, and really close matchups up and down the board besides Tank Racing and Blackout taking that one pretty comfortably there. But look at this, JW with a 4-point win over at Murray Reedy Motorsports. Phoenix edging out Highline Racing by 3 points, and JBR getting a 1-point win over Bobby Anderson Racing. So this is shaking up the standings a little bit here as we take a look at them here coming into week 5. Still a tie at the top with the advantage going to Tank, but it's closer than ever here as we head into week 5.
Yeah, and this is actually the first time we're seeing in a series the top 2 teams, actually the top 2 scoring teams as well, with Tank and JW doing that. The 3rd highest scoring team still sitting there at 1, 2, and 1, and that's Murray Reedy Motorsports sitting in position number 5. But the big thing, we talked about that we're only in week 5 now. just two, well, I guess we could say matches, games, I don't know how you want to term it, but 2 games separating first all the way down to last, so this thing's still wide open.
Yeah, and a bunch of draws you see there as well. I almost had another one between Bobby Anderson Racing and JBR like we just saw. That would have given them 2 on the season. That would be pretty crazy, but these points scored each week is going to be a big factor in determining who comes away with that 1 seed and 2 seed, making their way into that championship 3 race playoff there at the end of the season. So let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the matchups here for week 5, as we have just under 20 seconds before these guys wrap up qualifying. Tank going to take on Murray Reedy Motorsports. Phoenix Virtual Racing going to take on Jonathan Byer here this week. JW taking on Highline, with Bobby Anderson Racing taking on Blackout. So a lot of even matchups here, Brandon. What's sticking out to you?
Well, I'm kind of interested in seeing this Bobby Anderson and Blackout matchup, as they have a little bit of an affiliation there with each other. So that'll be interesting with how they are going to go against each other while also possibly working together on the racetrack, which is going to be an interesting balance. So that's kind of the one that stands out to me. Yeah,
so it's going to be a good one as this team championship starts to heat up. A bit of a different format, and it's been an exciting one so far. So the drivers starting to grid up out there as we get ready to turn 95 laps here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So let's quickly shout out Butt Kicker for coming on board here in season number 4. Check them out. They got a bunch of great items out there. But as we go ahead and play that, let's just give you a sneak preview of this field starting to grid up out there. A big field out here tonight. I believe we got 40 drivers out there, but also want to give another quick shout out to TJ's Team Foundation. Go ahead and check them out at morethan-a-cape.org. Learn what they're all about and maybe donate if you have some to give. So definitely go ahead and take the time after watching the race here tonight and learn a little more about them. But Brandon, got a few more drivers to grid up. Let's go ahead and check out that starting lineup here tonight. And it's a tight one between Jacob Manning and Michael Larch. JW Racing, pretty much a tie there on the board, but the advantage going to Jacob Manning with the pole here tonight. Seth Reed and Nathan De La Rosa here in row 2.
Yeah, before the race, I was kind of joking that I think it was going to be about 0.05 of a second separating the entire field. He was really doing that for the top 7 in reality. But row number 3 will be Joshua Balliette and Max Service, both out of Tank Racing. In row number 4, it'll be Ben Park and Nick Halda. In row number 5, Austin Reedy, who had the win a couple of weeks ago, and Adam Pettit, who came back not too long ago, actually. Vincent Cortez and Paul Gallimore will make up row number 6 to round out our top 12.
Yeah, Kyle Benson, Devin Zimmerman, that's row 7. Jeff Radke, Corey Stahl in row number 8. Daniel Keith Jr., Dalton McKinney in row number 9 with Cole Sacchetti and Craig Lautenslager. That's your top half of the field here tonight, as you see each and every one of these drivers begin to pull on off the grid here. So, Brandon, got to ask, who are you thinking about picking here tonight?
Oh, my. Well, I'm just going to draw a number at random, I think, at this point, just with us not really knowing what to expect out there. Typically, though, I mean, the JW guys do a good job on strategy, as do the Tank guys. So I'm just going to kind of reach into this one, and I'm going to say somebody that needs a good night. I'll go with the 81 of Max Service. I think he needs to get a little momentum going, get himself back up above that cut line. I'll say the 81 tonight.
All right, so finally got my mouse to work there after it's wanting to go ahead and crap out before the week is over. So I like the pick of Max Service getting back on track here. I'm going to go ahead and take the third-place driver here tonight. I'm going to take that 51 of Seth Reed. So the pace car got a few more turns to go before it starts to head on down pit road, and it is going to be exciting. I have no idea what to expect. I've yet to race here on this new surface, but I'm one of the few, I feel like, that actually liked what I saw here in real life. So I'm hoping we see a lot of the same here tonight. So looks like Jacob Manning is about to see that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag waving here in Hampton, Georgia, as he gets the field going here in Atlanta. So pulling his teammate here, Seth Reed, along with him. they're going to go ahead and clear that outside driver. That's Michael Larch, another one of their teammates, so they're going to try and figure out a way to get him maybe in line with them. Balliet just behind him, though. Nathan De La Rosa, that second car on the outside with Larch.
And I still feel like these guys are still trying to figure out what this track is going to feel like in these bigger packs. Most of the time in practice, you saw maybe about 5 to 10 cars grouped together at most. Here, you got all 40 all in one line, or in two lines really, all in this one big pack, trying to make their way through. The speed's going to increase even more. Those solo car qualifying speeds, we're seeing 32.1. Expect about 2 seconds faster as they get the draft around this 1.5 miles in Atlanta.
Yeah, and you saw that inside line starting to form up pretty big time out there. I don't think these guys are wanting to get too racy here early on, because I think a lot of them are like what I just said and don't have a lot of racing experience here at this new surface at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So it's going to take some time to figure it out for all these guys, but quickly done with 2 laps here in Atlanta. Jacob Manning still leading the way.
And this is going to be the interesting part. You know, it still does have the super speedway feel, but it's, of course, a lot narrower of a racing surface. It's a lot tighter of a turn radius as well. But keep in mind, with the super speedways, one other rule that does apply, you see that big red line there on the inside to these cars? That's going to be the double yellow line here in Atlanta. Can't pass that in the action of making a pass on somebody, or else you'll get a penalty. So keep that in mind. That's just going to make this racing surface a little bit more narrow than it even looks.
Well, I'm wondering who got a penalty here. I'm not sure if Vincent Cortez ended up with a penalty, but he is a lap down after coming off pit road here early on, and this one is going to cycle out to the back of the field too. Hopefully going to keep the draft so he doesn't lose more time, but early trouble here for the 23.
Actually showing it looks like he had a connection issue, just got reconnected here right at the start of the race just about. So that's him finally getting some laps turned here in this race, but did qualify in the 11th position. So unfortunate there. He's going to be 3 laps down in a hurry.
So this racing not dying too much here as Michael Larch continues to lead the outside. He's got another teammate up there now, Nick Halda, who joins us here on the Cup Series. He's that second car on the outside now, so JW doing what JW does here at these super speedway type races, and they just practice all the week, it seems, and controlling this thing. And that's what they're about to do with 2 cars controlling each of the 2 front rows. So it's going to be tough for these guys to maybe move them out of the way here in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about how narrow this racing surface is. You think about Daytona, you can make 3 wide work. It takes some effort, but you can make 3 wide work. Talladega, you can just about make 4 wide work with all the space out there. Here in Atlanta, I don't think you're really going to be able to see 3 wide until maybe some desperation pushes near the end of this race. So that side-by-side controlling the way, definitely going to be something that JW can hold on to unless one of those 2 gets shuffled out of the way. But the thing that they're going to have to think about, though, is leading this line, eating up the majority of that brick wall of air, and it's just going to take more throttle, more fuel for them to pull these cars around. This race is going to be pretty tight. There's be about a 2-lap buffer if this thing stays green the rest of the way to make it a one-stop race. So being the leader of a line might not necessarily be the best thing for you.
So taking a look further on back here, this is just outside the top 10. Devin Zimmerman in that 93. He is that 10th place car, but we had some side-by-side racing there for a little bit. Kyle Benson going to go ahead and get on out of that mess. But it's starting to get a little bit side-by-side as we got about 5 or 6 rows now going 2 wide through this whole course. So the battle for the lead not gone by any means. 3rd car in line there on the inside. That's Nathan De La Rosa in the 66, followed by Joshua Balliet, last week's winner. And then you've got the 81, your pick of Max Service. Looks like he doesn't know what he wants to do here. Keeps jumping up and down in each lane. So we'll figure out here soon who likes which lane. Testing out the waters here early on.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and even just testing it solo for a little bit earlier today, it's kind of weird because that inside line, it's so tight, working your way around. It feels like you're kind of on edge a little bit working your way through, even in a solo lap. It's still pretty simple. You're just mashing the gas and going, but it feels a lot more snug than you would anticipate. That outside line, that wall kind of creeps up on you pretty quickly if you get the slightest bit out of line. And then, oh, by the way, as we're riding on board with Joshua Balliet and his helmet cam, basically, That's the view that they have. You can't see a whole lot, especially if he gets a little bit closer. He's got about a car length of distance between he and Nathan De La Rosa in front of him, but as he gets closer and closer, look at how that visibility field just diminishes, and that makes this track even tougher with how tight it's going to be racing out here.
Yeah, look in the mirror too. You can see just how crowded it is behind him. Just such tight racing. Something we're not used to at a 1.5 mile track like we are here in Atlanta. But I think it has been a great idea. I loved it when they went there early on in this previous season in the NASCAR Cup Series as well as the other series. And so far proven to be a great race here tonight. They've proved me wrong, Brandon. I was kind of skeptical that this thing might be a caution fest. And so far, so good. Green through 11 laps.
Yeah, and I'm honestly a little bit curious if this thing does stay green for another 30 laps or so. We start seeing these green flag pit stops. I think that is going to be the biggest question of this race, is how everybody navigates the entry on the pit road at faster speeds than they've anticipated. You see them going 170 miles an hour out of the turn. They're going to be closing in on about 180 miles an hour. If they're going full bore, you see about 177, so maybe a little bit of tire wear starting to show up, slowing them down a little bit, maybe just kind of cracking the throttle just a touch as they get through these turns to drop off a couple miles an hour.
Yeah, and I bet as these laps start to tick off, we can check in on this speedometer later, and I bet you that speed will be a little bit higher as the tension starts to ramp up and those laps tick off. Time runs out here in Atlanta, but so far everybody just kind of riding here. Wow, as Seth Reed, I thought he was taking a look to the inside of his teammate there, but just might have got out of line there. Like you said, got to be careful getting those 4 tires over that red line. That can get you a black flag here tonight.
And the other thing you got to be careful about, too, if you're the second one in line, you're going to be expected to be giving a quality push to that car in front of you. But what that does do is it shuts off the airflow to the front of that car, and that's going to definitely take a toll on the engine. So you got to be mindful of that. That might be what we saw from Seth Reed a moment ago, maybe just trying to get a little bit of air to the nose of that car and try to cool down that engine and the temps just a little bit.
So let's take a look further on back in the pack here. This is Logan Joyner all the way back in 27th. Started the night in 33rd. Oh, no, we got trouble back here. It's Chris Bishop.
Adrian Schumacher, Chris Bishop, still green, and this is the nightmare scenario for the field because they're all going to get broken up, and the back half of the field split from the rest of the lead pack from about 28th on back. They're going to be losing touch with this draft, and now they're going to have to figure out how they're going to pull back into that lead pack.
That car with big-time damage. See it yawed out there. Real big time. That is going to be a lengthy pit stop here for Chris Bishop. We tuned in just in time to see that happen live. But yeah, something we see a lot here in Atlanta is these cautions not coming out because a lot of these cars will just kind of funnel down to the inside part of this track there, which doesn't register a yellow flag. So unfortunately, those guys involved in that going to have to limp around for a little bit and ultimately probably lose some laps. But man, I keep seeing that 51 get really close to putting 4 tires below that red line. He has got to be careful with that.
And I mean, he's fine if he's not making a pass, at least in terms of the penalty, but it's something that it's definitely going to catch some attention for sure if he does keep doing that, and maybe kind of an action of blocking or anything like that. But as far as I recall, the line is the rule is you just cannot pass underneath that red line. So we'll see, but you can see him getting about 70% of that car going over it right now.
Hey, yeah, like you said, if it's not going to penalize you, then don't have much to worry about. So doesn't have anything to worry about at this moment, but he's not going to want to ride behind his teammate for too long. Just look at it now. The field looks a lot different than it did a few laps ago, side by side. Wow, as De La Rosa gets a little tight there, but pretty much side by side racing, 20 rows deep here.
And that's the kind of thing I was wondering was going to happen once these tires get about halfway through this fuel run, which we are right about now, is how the tires are going to hang on, how that grip is going to feel, especially as you get closer and closer to the car in front of you, or if the car behind you gets closer and closer. Just messing with the aero a little bit more kind of gives you that aero push at times, or maybe gets you a little aero loose if somebody pushes from behind and gets you at the wrong spot in the turn. So this handling issue is going to be something that's it's going to be very highly important for these guys as they navigate their way through this field for really the first time going this long into a run. Not many guys pulled this off in practice.
So far right now, looking at the number 6 here, Daniel Bowdler, the biggest mover of the race so far here. There's his picture. Up 18 positions after starting the night in 34th position here tonight. Currently running in 16th on that outside lane just behind his teammate there, Jovi Ray. So maybe a little teamwork moving their way on up. Jovi up 11 positions so far, but not as many big movers as I was expecting. Josh Siegfried back here in the 60 machine. He has moved up 13 positions up to 26th. Zach Deutscher in the 17th position. He's up 6 spots. And Daniel Keith Jr. up here in 9th in that 45 machine. He is up 8 positions since he started the race here.
Yeah, and I think part of that's just going to be, going back to how wide this racetrack is. It's not very wide, so I should say how narrow this racetrack is. It's going to cut down on the opportunity to make passes as these guys continue to race side by side. I mean, it's looking like a 175-mile-an-hour pace lap right now with the entire field practically side by side with each other all the way back to, I would say, about that 28th position where they really started to split off because of that incident that we saw a little bit earlier. This entire field still side by side. And I don't think anybody really feels like it's the time to be pushing 3 wide at this point and really start kind of messing with the flow of this race.
I'm surprised we're not seeing as much pushing, practice at least. We're seeing Larch and Nick Halta kind of fall back at the moment in that 52, 54 outside lane, followed by Adam Pettit there in the 83, but not much, studying being done on the effects of bump drafting here. I'm curious to see how that'll work out once we get to the end of this thing. When we watched this race back in March or April, whenever it was, a lot of big runs could be generated there on the outside lane, but we'll see if anybody can figure that out here by the end of tonight.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to see that after this first pit stop once we get to that point, whenever we get to that point, and everybody kind of understands a little bit more about how the car's feeling, maybe have a little bit more communication about, all right, if you got a teammate near you, all right, get a little bit tighter, give me a push here, let me see what it's like if I push you here. I think they're still kind of feeling this racetrack out and feeling out the grip levels on those tires. There's a lot going on in these guys' minds right now, trying to determine what is to be expected of this racetrack, because like we said at the start of this broadcast, it's the great unknown. So it's going to be quite the headache here for these guys, and I think just adding that bump drafting at this point in the race just might be one thing too much.
Yeah, to be completely honest, I hated this track before they repaved it. It was one of the toughest circuits out here, with how it just felt like you were driving on ice, especially in these Xfinity Series cars here that they have on iRacing. They are a handful here, so curious to know just how difficult it is. Like I said, not a very wide racing surface, even though you see pretty much the capability for 3 lanes. It can tighten up for you quickly there, exiting too, if you get a little carried away. I've seen a lot of people catch that wall before this repave, so I'm very curious to know how it handles out there right now.
Yeah, and talking to some of the drivers before the race, one of the things that I heard was, you know what speed you're going by yourself, but then you're adding quite a bit of speed, up to about 15 miles an hour at some points on the racetrack. And what that does, makes the car feel a whole lot tighter because you're moving so much faster than you got comfortable with in testing or anything like that. A lot of guys, you'll have team practice sessions, but sometimes you won't have all 5 people. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Then there's a lot of times you're just kind of getting comfortable on the racetrack by yourself, doing a test drive all by yourself, and that's going to feel completely different from what you're used to. But what I have heard is just that these cars tight when it comes to the draft.
So, Brandon, what do you think? Do you think this pit window opens up once we get to the 30-lap mark, or are these guys able to make it to lap 45 to make this a one-stop race here tonight?
They should be able to make it on a one-stop strategy. The only ones I'm curious about are going to be the 50 and the 52, because they've been leading these lines for this entire 28 laps. As we now cross the line into lap number 29, they've been leading these lines the entire way. So like I talked about earlier, they're the ones that are punching the hole in the air, and that just takes up so much more throttle to actually lead these lines as opposed to everybody else that can use tow from the drafting effect in front of them, and they can maybe crack that throttle to about 80% and stay just as fast. So everybody else behind them should definitely make this a one-stop race.
Oh, the 52 gets loose!
About these two line leaders. Oh, there's going to be a big one.
The 52 gets loose and takes out a lot of cars in the process. That's Michael Larch out of JW Racing, and just like that, lot of damage.
Well, there goes the pit talk.
Yeah.
I saw this. I saw the 69 of Jackson Wade. I think I saw the 33, the 64, all caught up, and I saw a couple of guys dive down pit road to avoid this thing. That was really the safest option if you had that ability. But my goodness, we saw a big wreck last night in the truck series. This one's going to be about double the carnage here as we go to the admin box rec replay for the first time. 52 car, lead car on the outside. He's got 54 right behind him, but he doesn't get touched anywhere. He just gets loose and then unable to save it, and you could just see everybody just nowhere to go behind him.
Just that little wiggle sent that car spinning just like that. We'll take another look at that as everybody coming down pit road. I actually want to go ahead and take a look from the 54's perspective. If I can find it, all my numbers are shuffling as they're all pitting in their stalls. Here we go. And right on board so he can see this little wiggle out of his teammate in that 52 just in front of him. They're entering turn 3, and you're going to see it happen just about right here. Kicks out on him. And that just really upsets the handling on the car. Nobody had anywhere to go behind him, and it was all over after this.
Yeah, and once he goes sideways, there's about 70% of the racing surface that's blocked off at that point, and then everybody just trying to funnel down low or maybe try to go up high. And you could see at that 52, he was trying to save it, and Halda just had nowhere to go. He was laying out of it just a little bit, trying to give him some time to save it. But when you got that whole line behind you, there's only so much you can do. Halda almost gets through that and then gets tagged at the very end before he's able to clear through. There you see Devin Zimmerman as well in the grass. Just a whole lot of cars involved in this one. I've counted about 10 or 11 cars with some damage here after that.
So everybody comes down pit road. Jacob Manning leads them out. Set 3 just behind him. Nathan De La Rosa coming out in 3rd. Your pick here tonight, Max Service, comes out 4th. And Joshua Balliet will round out the final 5 positions here. After that pit stop, we're going to go ahead and step aside and run a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
All right, quickly, just like that, getting those pace car lights turned off, and they're going to get this thing kicked back off here, I believe, on the lap number 33. So a very quick first caution of the night here, but man, that caught up a lot of cars, a few of them still on pit road, 2 of which being Nick Halda and Devin Zimmerman. They've yet to come out from their repairs, but everybody else, for the most part, back out here on track. 34 cars on the lead lap, led by Jacob Manning.
And what this does, we were talking about pit strategy, it's still a one-stop race the rest of the way, so that's going to make this a little bit more interesting as we get it all fired back up here in Atlanta for the second green flag of the night, brought to you by Silverback Tax Solutions, and that's a huge jump here for Jacob Manning this time.
Yeah, it gets out to a big lead, but it's not going to matter. You see the push from the 66 to the 51. They're going to get linked up really quickly, but a real scattered field here in the top half. It looks like a lot of guys maybe going to the back after what they just saw, or maybe doing the opposite, wanting to get up to the front after that took out about 10 cars from about halfway on back there.
And one thing that has happened, we had 3 JW cars leading and blocking both of those lines up front, really trying to control the race. You only have 2 of them now. One of them's got to be a pusher, and that's going to open up this outside line whenever they decide to form up and take this opportunity. Looks like Max Service had a chance to give that push to Nathan De La Rosa, but instead he's going to wait on his teammate behind him, Joshua Balliette, and they're going to be the tank duo that tries to pull forward. Keep in mind, Ben Park, a little bit of affiliation with Tank as well. Not officially one of the team members here in this series, but is in the truck side of things. So they might have a 3-car line that might be able to make this work.
Yeah, just behind them in the 11, that's going to be Paul Gallimore. He's a newcomer here to Speed Racing Network, having a good run in that number 11 machine here tonight, followed by Zach Deutscher, having a great run up in 8th place. Logan Joyner, former champion here in the Silverback Series. He's made his way up 24 positions currently in 9th, and followed by the 99 of Craig Lotslager. Whoa!
Oh!
Almost making contact and sending the 9 spinning, but he hangs on, and they go side by side, 4 rows deep here from 10th on back.
Speaking of the 9 and 99, I think 99 of Craig Lautenschlager had a little bit of a run and decided to make that jump to the outside and just barely caught the 9 car of Logan Joyner and nearly turned him in front of the field there at that point. Jonathan Byer a little bit off pace there on the inside. He's going to get that thing collected back up. Man, this is getting interesting here. These cars, I'm wondering if people are kind of trying to tiptoe it a little bit, maybe trying to save those tires. We saw some cars get pretty loose there at the end of that 30-lap run before that first caution. Maybe people are thinking we pushed it a little bit too hard, back off a little bit so we can maintain this thing. But keep in mind, we only got 58 laps here possible from that green flag up until the end of this advertised distance. If it stays green, we're still looking at a one-stop race, cutting that thing in half.
Yeah, I saw someone get into the wall. I was trying to figure out who it was. It might have been Cole Martin here, who's back in 27th and has a pretty damaged right side of that 47. So he's currently in that backpack. Out front, nothing changing here. All these guys looking like they're going to just try and cruise for a little bit. A lot of like we saw in that first run. Almost made it to 30 green flag laps. Came up just short. And we're staring down the very real possibility of them having to make green flag pit stops, but very well still could see that here tonight. Could be a game changer too, because now what we were talking about during the break, that could be some raising some eyebrows for these guys as they saw the 52 get real loose there on old tires. Maybe they lose a lot of grip here on these long runs and these fast speeds.
Yeah, it's almost going to have a more natural feel of what we saw in real life for the Cup cars at Texas, where you kind of start thinking like, all right, there's a little bit of life on these tires. That's not quite as much as we were anticipating. Not so much in terms of the air or the tires blowing, but it's going to be more of just how much grip they have. This is going to be interesting there with Daniel Keith Jr. up there on the high line. Ooh. Everybody having to make their way through 3 wide, coming out of turn 4. They're going to do it successfully so far. A little bit of contact, I think, to the 16 car. He's going to keep it straight, though, and that was nearly a disaster in front of the field.
Yeah, not sure if this was by his choosing, but Daniel Keith going off track, maybe just getting out of the way. Not sure if he had some assistance, but man, this battle from about 10th on back has been a good one so far. You see the damage to 6 there of Bowdler, but not holding him back as he's making the pass to the inside here of the 99. Could slide up if he wants and get behind his teammates there, and he does just that. Logan Joyner, Joby Ray, Daniel Bowdler all in a line as they're trying to work together and make their way up to the front of this thing.
Yeah, that little damage there, that's actually pretty significant damage there to the back end of the 6 car. But hey, if you're going to have damage anywhere, you might as well have it on the back of this car here at this racetrack. It's going to affect the handling a little bit, but not going to affect the speed out of that car. And you can see right now they're getting pretty well lined up. It's really just Joshua Siegfried, the only PVR car that's not sitting there. He's kind of trapped on that inside line. but Joyner, Ray, and Bowdler all lined up there, and they might be starting this run for the outside line if they can keep this up. Somebody might have the opportunity here to jump in front of them, and those two tank cars sitting in third and fourth, they might be the ones to do it.
Yeah, he's definitely thinking about it, and you just see the speed difference. They're almost going to touch 180 there going into turn number 3. We saw them topping out at 177 when we checked in earlier. This 9 machine is moving as he gets to the outside of the 18 of Zach Deuscher now.
Man, just picking them off one by one on the outside, longer way around the racetrack, but you can just see the speed difference here as they continue to make their charge through the field on this high line. Real curious. I think the only two that might make the block here, and there they go, as Balliet and Service going to jump up to the outside. They want to lead this freight train up high.
Showing the lap times there, you can see it, the 0.2 of a second difference for the last 3 laps have made their way up, but now they have some work ahead of them as they have 2 tank racing cars in their way. So now Max Service going to take charge on that outside lane, see if they can get that push to the front. Thought I heard someone get a little damage back there, but might have been a little glitch, maybe a little netcode. And don't know what iRacing has been up to lately, but one thing I know, the 81 looking fast now as this outside lane really starts to connect up here. Logan Joyner a little bit off the back bumper, the 7. That's going to slow them down a little bit, but the 50 and 51 here have taken notice.
And one thing you were asking in that first run is where's the bump drafting? We haven't seen it yet. Little bit of it showing up here on the back straightaway now between Joshua Balliet giving that push to Max Service in the 81. I think we're seeing it here a little bit with the JW cars that are leading the field, the 50 and 51 of Manning and Reed. So we're starting to see these guys get a little bit more comfortable using the nose of those cars to push their teammates or their drafting partner at least a little bit farther up.
Got another lap car coming up here. We'll stay on board here just to see how tight it gets. Looking like they're going to commit to the bottom lane. They're going to get out of the way there. Good call. But yeah, just look at the exit of these turns. Not much room to spare, and you get loose like you saw Michael Larch do as you see him give that little push to his teammate there, Max Service. But they're going to need a little more if they want to get that outside lane going here. But yeah, you can see how just getting loose, like I said, can be a deal breaker for not just you, but a lot of guys like we just saw.
Yeah, absolutely can. As we continue to see these guys, it looks like they're getting their confidence back after that big wreck, starting to trust everybody around them. A little bit past halfway in the race, also halfway in some other viewing options here tonight. So if you've been watching that and you're joining us, then great racing here thus far for the first half of the race in Atlanta. As everybody's still doing pretty well out here. We did have that one big wreck, but aside from that, we've seen some pretty calm racing out here for this style with how intense it's been, seeing how side-by-side it's been for pretty much the entire race.
Yeah, kind of some crazy cross references here. I'm in Charlotte, you're in Atlanta. We got the Panthers taking on the Falcons, and we're racing in Atlanta. So why not do it here tonight? Kind of worked out there. I'm starting to think whoever made this schedule did that on purpose.
Definitely not, but yeah, I mean, hey, I'm the one living in Atlanta, but despite the score, despite where I live, I'm happy right now, actually, but also happy watching this great race as we got these 2 JWR cars continuing to lead the way on the inside line, and that outside line just kind of stalled out a little bit. We saw that PBR trio, really that quadruplet, as Siegfried did join up with them. They were really charging up towards the front, but when Service and Balliet got there, it seems like they just kind of lost the tightness, didn't quite have that communication and that comfort level with each other, and it's kind of spread out that outside line and stalled that momentum.
How you doing, Kyle Spees? Welcome to the party. Up 29 spots here after starting the night in 36th position. And I kind of messed up last night saying he's had a rough time so far here this season. Not the case in the Truck Series, but so far here in the Silverback Series, he is kind of further down the list than he wants to be. Currently 7 points behind that cut line, currently held by Cole Sacchetti there. So Spees trying to make up some points here tonight and doing so with a good run currently in 8th.
Yeah, and that should not come as too much of a shock. He had one of the stronger cars at Daytona, which another super speedway style race, obviously a very different type of racetrack, but he's shown that he's got the trust of everybody out there when it comes to drafting, and he's got the ability to read the field when it comes to these pack races. And there he is once again, sitting there inside the top 10 and trying to regain some of that momentum that he lost after that first Xfinity win for him, the second one that he had in 2 nights after winning the truck race as well at Daytona.
Yeah, I've seen Kyle run a lot of super speedway races. It's just kind of his thing here. He does a great job every time he comes out to this thing, and kind of a similar race here tonight, and doing just that as he's made up a lot of ground, and I know his fans out there in the chat going to love seeing that. So coming back to the stripe, we're going to finish lap number 52 here with our 2 leaders, 50 and 51, leading the way. But Max Service starting to get that big push up towards the front. He's trying to get to the outside here of Cole Martin.
Yeah, he's definitely trying. I think they're starting to tighten up that outside line just a little bit more. The curious thing is going to be, we're getting pretty close to midway through as got Kyle Spies, I think, dumping out in that down to the apron, maybe just thinking, you know what, I don't like how this is setting up right now, wants to get a little bit of room away from everybody. And you know what, if you're the Daytona winner twice here earlier in the season, that might be a warning sign to everybody if somebody with that kind of success is thinking this is a little bit too much right now. But the thing that's kind of got me curious, I would say in about 5 laps, we're probably going to start seeing some pit stops happen, because that's going to be halfway through the remaining portion of the race since that last pit stop. And if you're kind of stuck on the outside, this is going to be real dicey trying to get down to the inside under green flag conditions and figuring out how to actually get down on the pit road under green flag conditions for the first time in this configuration anyway. So there's going to be a whole lot going on here in a handful of laps if this thing stays green.
Yeah, and these guys have completed 30 green flag laps now on these sets of tires. Well, actually 25 laps now. So getting close to that 30 lap mark where we saw Michael Larch lose control through turns 3 and 4. So that high line will be probably a little worried about that too after seeing that happen not too long ago. So I think you're exactly right. I think they're going to try and split this thing right in the middle. And once we complete lap 60, I think pit lane is going to be getting real busy out there. So let's go ahead and check out further on back here. Craig Lautenslager getting passed by Corey Stahl. Seeing you OZ cubed out there. Stahl Army and David Solomon, out there cheering on Corey Stahl as well. Corey currently running in the 16th position. Further on back here, this pack is broken off a little bit though, led by Dalton McKinney in that 64 machine. You got Jackson Wade, Kyle Benson back here too, Colt Martin, as well as Jonathan Byer, Bo Tiffany, Adrian Schumacher. A lot of big names currently running in this backpack, currently about 6 seconds from that lead pack.
Well, it also looks like a lot of guys that got damaged in that first caution as well, so they might be thinking, you know what, these cars are a little bit fragile at this point after the damage picked up earlier. Maybe just don't have the speed or the grip to hang on to the pack, and we got a caution out on the racetrack.
Looks like Reedy involved here as he's taking the tow. No, he was blinking a little bit there, so trying to figure out who it was.
Saw somebody down on the apron. Oh, there we go, the 16.
Murray. Yeah. So Tyler Murray involved here. Some damage to the 16 machine. I think I saw Bo Tiffany also caught up here in this one for the Highline Racing machine, and some heavy damage to that 49. So let's check out that admin box wreck replay real quick. Figure out exactly what happened.
It sounds like it was right behind where we were riding on board here. You see Byer up into the wall a little bit. Bo Tiffany came down. He made contact with Adrian Schumacher, and that kind of funneled into Tyler Murray in the 16 car. It was in the back of the pack, but that's still pretty good damage here to 4 cars. And I think Byer, when he got into the wall, I think Bo Tiffany thought, oh man, I'm drifting up, I need to come down to the inside, and he just didn't have any space at that point by the time that he reacted. And for Tyler Murray, there was just nowhere to go at that point.
So everybody coming down pit lane. Let's see who wins the race off pit road here, and looking like it's going to be Jacob Manning, Seth Reed, followed by Service, De La Rosa, and Zach Deutscher. So as we complete this round of pit stops, we're going to step aside one more time for a quick commercial break.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacttax.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
All right, back out here in Atlanta, the field getting stacked back up to get ready to go here after the second caution of the night. Pace car lights are off. We're going to get this thing quickly back underway. One thing we're talking about into the break is very quick cautions here in Atlanta. So, hey, let's get back to it, Brent.
Yeah, hey, well-trained cleanup crews out there. I guess it would be whatever the iRacing AMR version is going to be of the crews. But they've done a good job getting this track cleaned up. As we saw only about 4 cars involved in that one, but that first one, I was very surprised to see a 2-lap caution. And what it has done, it's taken out the green flag pit stop conversation out of the picture. 30 laps to go. They're all set.
We were very excited about that, but hey, we're still going to have a great finish here, because I don't think JW has this thing locked up by any means. Yeah, they've led just about every lap, if not every lap, here tonight, but I think they're going to have some trouble here with some of these Phoenix virtual racing guys potentially who showed some strong speed. If they can get some clean air, they're going to be some trouble here. But Max Service, as well as his teammate Balliet, also up there. Zach Deutscher made his way up to the front too. It could be anybody's game here tonight.
Oh, you mentioned Phoenix Virtual Racing. Look at that high line. The top 3 cars all up high. All PVR cars. Joyner, Ray, and Bowdler. Joshua Siegfried starting to jump up to the outside as well. Lucas Lyons, it looks like, is going to make a move as well to jump up onto that outside line also.
Yeah, got the edge over Balliet there. Get by Deutscher too. Now going to have a nose to the outside of Nathan De La Rosa. Nathan opting to stay down there. These guys getting what they want right now, and that's clean air. Let's see what Max Service does as they're edging their way up to the P3 car in the field.
Yeah, Max Service doesn't have a teammate behind him at this point. He's got Nathan De La Rosa at a JBR, not too sure where to go. He hesitated a second. Hesitation is what'll hurt you here at the super speedways, and he didn't have a chance to jump up onto that outside line as here comes that trio of PVR cars on a big-time run on that Highline train.
Yeah, I think everybody has made their bed as Logan Joyner gets a big push down the back straightaway from his teammate there, Jovi Ray in that 24. Daniel Bowdler also closely followed by in there, and now it is a battle out front here in Atlanta.
That is what you wanted, the pump drafting. We got the shove drafting there on the back straightaway between that 24 and the 9. Oh, a little bit loose on the big push there from Seth Reed to Jacob Manning, and that's going to really hurt the front end of this inside line. They all have to check up, and now a little bit of medicine back at JW Racing. PVR going to control both lines.
Logan quickly getting down to the bottom lane. Jovi's going to control the outside, being pushed by Daniel Bowdler. That's going to force a lot of people's hands here to make it 3 wide as these laps continue to tick off. And just one more lap, we're going to see that hashtag Go Faster pop out there on the scoreboard, and that is exactly what each and every one of these guys are doing. So if you're liking what you see, please hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons, and hit that little bell so you know exactly when we go live each and every week. This Xfinity Series putting on a hell of a show here tonight.
And one thing that we're noticing here for the first time that we haven't seen for the first 65 laps, Jacob Manning not leading a line. So where is he going to come into this? This is the first time he's having to run behind somebody where those conditions get tight, and he's got to have to figure out how that car is going to handle around this racetrack, and also driving around this racetrack with that blocked view with the back end there of that 9 car right in front of him. Just kind of changes up a whole lot. It's really going to throw off the focal points and really going to be uncomfortable here for a couple laps.
Giving up on the whole picture thing here tonight as it just doesn't want to work here. So, yeah, riding on board Jacob Manning, second car in the inside lane as they go by some lap traffic there. I believe that might have been Vincent Cortez. Not sure who it was, but they get by cleanly nonetheless. But, yeah, getting a push through the turns right there. You can hear the contact from his teammate Seth Reed. Seth with some big pushes here. He wants to get this line going, maybe get some clean air that they can jump out here on the 24, but going to be really hard to do. Another thing that I think is going to be hard to do for these, though, is kind of riding the brakes to control these lines. I just think it's a lot harder to do potentially here in Atlanta, but I could be wrong.
I'm kind of with you on that, and especially with how close everybody's running. I think with just the nature of the setup, the way that you're going to have the brake set up on pit road, you can do some minor front brake bias adjustments, but I think the big thing is everybody's thinking like, all right, I got to get the brake set up so I can come down pit road in case we have a green flag pit stop. I think everything's going to be pretty high powered there. Tapping the brake might throw you straight back into the pack. Still one of those unknown things for those of us that haven't run a full race here on this racetrack, though.
And you mentioned the Cup Series is going to be heading here later on in the season, so you were hoping to see those green flag pit stops for yourself. Didn't really happen here tonight, and yeah, you're going to have to maybe be a guinea pig as far as that goes. But man, one thing I know is that if this is any foreshadowing, the Cup Series will be a great race here, just like it is here tonight. 22 laps to go. Saw the 22 take the championship here in 2022 here a few races ago. So, hey, it all kind of relates to one another. But Jacob Manning, wow, big push there for the 9 as they exited turn 4 here. You can tell he's getting kind of aggressive as he wants that spot back here. 21 to go.
Oh, and for a split second, I thought maybe he might try to make that dive down to the inside as Logan Joyner kind of crept up the racetrack off that red line. Gave him about a width of a car space to maybe make that move, but I think Jacob Manning, I was talking about how it's a couple of laps to readjust if you haven't led, or if you've led the line and haven't been behind anybody for an entire race. I think that comfort adjustment period is over. He is giving some big shoves there to that 9 car. Seems like he's kind of adjusted to that difference, but it's still going to be very tight. He might be able to kind of thread the needle through the middle and get that run with Seth Reed, but I think Jovi Ray and Daniel Bowdler are doing a good job of kind of closing up that gap and making that where it's not going to be possible. If they can keep this up for 20 laps, they're really going to be forcing a hand, and I think you can see the 50 car kind of taking a look at that middle line, seeing what he can do and seeing if Daniel Bowdler is going to give any.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lane there. You don't want to be the guy to do it, but you're going to have to at some point to the 50, maybe just kind of scoping things out, figuring out where he can fit his car. And the 9 gets a little wiggly there as he gets on the line there in turns 1 and 2. But I've noticed down the backstretch, he'll leave a little bit of a lane there on the inside. Could be an opportunity for that 50 to maybe jump down there and not worry about getting penalized, as that would not be a pass under the red line. So still a lot to play out here. And you know, don't forget about that 18 and the Zach Deuscher here too. He's kind of checking out that high lane, seeing if he has anybody to go with. He's got Austin Reedy just behind him, Craig Lautenslager in the 99 machine. So those two guys, teammates out of Murray Reedy Motorsports. Maybe if he asks them nicely, maybe they'll take it to the front.
And I tell you what, that might not be a bad guy to have lead a line out there either with Zach Deuscher and Austin Reedy, because those are two pretty aggressive drivers when it comes to the super speedways. They're not shy about pushing heavily out there. So if they can control a line, that might get pretty interesting here the rest of the way. But the last couple laps on the back straightaway, what we've seen is a big snake effect as everybody kind of swerving around, trying to find a gap that they might be able to fit the nose into. We've talked about all night. It's hard to make these passes. 17 laps to go. There's going to be a lot of guys sitting around 10th on back thinking, all right, I got to start making moves now if I want a shot to win this thing.
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You got Siegfried back there, like you mentioned not too long ago. He's currently at the back of this pack, currently 15th after making up 24 spots. A few of the names that we've seen are running up towards the front. I mean, Kyle Spies is back here in 25th position. He was up in the top 10 not too long ago. We were talking about this being a potentially good points day for the 25, and looking like it might be the opposite. And a lot of these guys we saw running up front too, not so many of them running anymore. Nick Halda currently out of this thing. Devin Zimmerman was up here in the top 10 at some point, as well as Adam Pettit. A lot of cars banged up in this one and giving a lot of opportunity to a few of these guys out here tonight.
And I tell you what, we saw a pretty big gap from Kyle Spies up to this lead pack. I think he's kind of leading a group of cars thinking this cannot last. As intense as the racing has been with this side-by-side, everybody kind of snaking around trying to find that spot that they can fit the nose of the car in and maybe start that third line. I think there's a lot of guys back there banking on this thing not making it another 15 laps.
Yeah, that's a bet you make sometimes with yourself. You got to, stick to your guns and what you feel is going to happen. Sometimes that strategy pays off. It's paid off for me at super speedways in the past, and sometimes it doesn't. It's also not paid off for me in the past. So it's just sometimes you got to make your bet, and a lot of these guys are already laying in it, and we'll see if it pays off for Kyle Spies. But right now, the hard charging paying off for these PVR teammates. 1, 2, 3 right now, with Manning falling back to 4th. They're kind of side by side now, but gives a big shove to the 9 out in front of this thing. Still trying to figure out what he's going to do coming to the stripe with 13 laps to go.
And I'm just blown away looking. We talk about difficult to pass, but out of the top 5, 4 of the top 5 cars have all gained over or near at least 20 cars. You got plus 18 for Zach Deuscher in 5th, plus 24 for Jovi Ray, who's 25th now up to the lead, plus 31 for Logan Joyner up to 2nd, plus 31 for Daniel Bowdler in 3rd. Big time movement for some of these guys up near the front. So it's they're showing it can be done. You just got to really work at it all race long.
Yeah, Lotzenlager can join them too. He's up 11 in 9th place, has had a big run. Lucas Lyons also with a big run up through the field, currently in that 11th position, up 10 spots here. And Adrian Schumacher started 40th here tonight, currently in that 16th position. So he's got some ground to go, but can also maybe make up some big-time positions if, say, something does happen here towards the front at the end of this thing.
Oh, they're getting real tight there. On the entry to 3, the exit to 4, you saw that gap in the middle between these two lines get pretty tight, maybe going from about a car. Oh, wow. Real close moment there for the 9 and the 24 leading these lines. And if they took each other out, that would have been a catastrophe throughout the entire field if that wreck starts right up front.
Coming back to the stripe, they will take 10 laps to go. Will we see a caution, or will this thing stay green? Either way, it's going to be a fantastic end, so don't go anywhere. And while you're at it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that little bell so you know exactly when we go live next week. But 10 laps to go. Brandon, what are you thinking? You think it stays this way, or are we going to see a third lane here by the end of this thing?
I think we're going to see a third lane, and I think right around that time is when we might see something. Now, if it's on the final lap,
99 a lot slugger.
Oh, big time up in the air for the 99 into the catch fence.
A lot of cars caught up in this one. Truett, Ryan, Susie, Bobby Anderson, Jeff Ratke, as well as Lottenslager. Yeah, Josh Marcy involved. I believe Tyler Murray caught up in this one as well.
Bubble driver Jeffrey Radke involved in this in the 8 car also. So this is going to have big time point implications as well as race implications, but that 99 looked to be a potential contender, and that car obviously done for the night after this wild ride.
Yeah, so we're going to check it out first here from the blimp cam. You can just see it
There's
there,
that look
yeah.
to 3 wide.
Just nowhere for anybody to go. I don't think anybody got through this cleanly here. A little bit of everybody catching something there.
Yeah, like right at the start of this, it looked like, I want to say it was a wide shot, but red and black, I'm thinking that was Lucas Lyons. Took a look down to the middle at maybe making this thing 3 wide for the first time here in this race, and it looked like Lautenschlager just kind of came back down and cut that move off, but it was just a little bit too late. There's the run to the middle, a little bit of contact there to the left rear, and that just starts everything. Wow, Joshua Siegfried barely getting by that thing. And then everybody else behind him, all involved.
Yeah, so we'll ride with Lucas Lyons here on board. See if he does make contact here with the 99, or if it might have been a little netcode. I'm not sure.
Hard to tell there. I want to say there was a little bit of contact, but maybe. We've seen netcode kind of happen at times here, especially in the past couple weeks for some reason. But either way, just let that little bit of contact there. And hearing over the driver chat that EOL is going to go on to the 48, so they're not going to see netcode there on that one. He's going to take the penalty, go to the back of the field, obviously damaged already. But that's going to kind of set this up where we're really only going to have maybe 15 cars that are going to be somewhat healthy for the finish here.
Well, we will have that finish for you on the other side of a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
Want to be a part of an established league on iRacing? A league that's competitive, fun, and above all fair? Look no further than Speed Racing Network. Originally known as Mid-South Madness, SRN has evolved into a league that can bring the best out in any given driver. Drivers work their way up through the ranks to hopefully one day call themselves a champion of Speed Racing Network. If you're interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out to league admins to claim your spot today. Maybe you'll end up in the history books. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor in Speed Racing Network, feel free to head over to www.speedracingnetwork.com and reach out to an admin today. And as always, remember to go faster.
And just like that, pace car lights are off, and we're getting ready to get this thing back underway. The top 16 opting to stay out there on the tires, but 17th on back, coming down for 4 fresh ones, maybe a little bit of fuel as well. So, yeah, you think in the track position, a little more valuable than fresh tires, Brandon?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that it's going to be very difficult to make 3 wide work. And with this side-by-side, I don't see much of a route for anybody up near the front. So I'm doing the same thing that they did. I'm staying out there. I'm trusting the track position is going to carry me the rest of the way, and I'm not going to risk losing 10 spots without much of a chance of making it back up.
So Jovi Ray taking the outside lane, creeping towards that Geico restart zone, and that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag waving with 6 laps to go here in Atlanta.
Now, Jovi's got a choice to make. He could have worked with his teammates and maybe lined up the top 3 all PVR on that inside line, but what he's doing is he's going to keep up with that double wide strategy here.
Balder
and
goes
see
up
if they
there
can,
too.
oh, a little bit of contact. We got 3 wide now as Jacob Manning up there. They're wrecking on the back stretch.
That's Max Service going for a ride down here, but no caution.
See, I shouldn't have said last night that I think the broadcaster's curse is gone, because there it is again. But back up front, side by side here, PVR 1-2, 1-2-3 really out there. It's Zach Deuscher now the second car on the inside line. Jacob Manning third on the outside. Austin Reedy going to move down to the inside line. And the 7th car in there is Nathan De La Rosa. Everybody else kind of falling back just about a half second or so.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive the 18 gets here with the pushing. Looks like he's having a hard time keeping it steady right now behind the 9. But if he's going to want to make a pass, it's going to be hard to do so here with the PVR trio out in front. Jacob Manning there in fifth. Austin Reedy, that third car on the inside lane, followed by Nathan De La Rosa as well as Joshua Balliet. So, a little bit of variety up here as far as the teams go, but not when it comes to the front three.
Little bit of a scramble in the front straightaway this past time by. Off camera, Seth Reed got turned into the grass. He kept it going straight, cut through the grass, rejoins the pack, but he's lost quite a few positions. He falls back down to the 23rd spot after that little bit of lawn mowing there through the infield, but still 3 laps to go. We got a pack of 8, and there's the rest of the field starting to show their hand a little bit, creeping up into the picture as well.
Yeah, Ben Park, Josh Susie, Kyle Ryan, Corey Stahl all coming up into the picture, followed by Josh Siegfried as well. So the party of 8 quickly turning into the party of 13 here and getting down to the nitty-gritty as the sun comes out here in the evening. 2 laps to go this time. Who's going to do it?
And the most important flag might be the next one that they see. That's the white flag. Should they get all the way back around, caution will not come out most likely around that final lap. If it comes out here before the white flag, we're going to get that overtime set up here. So this is going to be real interesting for the next 3/4 of a mile. Can they get to that white flag?
Logan Joyner side by side with his teammate Jovi Ray through turns 3 and 4. The only question is now, who's going to win it? The 9 and 24 come to the stripe, and it's going to be Jovi Ray by a hair. So Logan Joyner comes home in second. And waiting to see who gets the 3rd place position. Oh, I thought that was the finish there, Brandon. I was way too excited here. I'm seeing positions still moving. We get one more lap of this.
And we got one jumping out to the high line. That's going to be Jacob Manning trying to start the 3rd line all the way up on the outside of 3 and 4.
Yeah, so side by side still, it's going to be down to the 24 and the 9. The 18 of Deutscher pushing the 9 to the line, and it's the 24 of Ray coming away with the win. And everybody starts to wreck here behind us. Not sure if that's celebratory or what, but some damage for some of these guys here. If they had clean races in line, I'm not sure they're going to be very happy about that.
You know what? I think that 24 and the 9 are going to be pretty happy anyway with that finish. That PVR trio there of Ray, Joyner, and Bowdler worked that to perfection, controlling both of those lines. And they got the 3 wide jump there from Jacob Manning all the way to the outside. I think he just made that move a little bit too late. Didn't really have much room there to try to squeeze through on that high line. But, man, those 3 just really controlled. Once they got up front, that group of 3 really controlled that race the rest of the way.
So Jovi Ray, your winner here in the 24 machine out of Phoenix Virtual Racing, claiming his 2nd win of the season. So a great night. Looking like it's going to be a sweep of the podium for Phoenix Virtual Racing. But Jovi Ray just going to park it here. Probably come out crap that flag. So let's go ahead and head on up into our TV tower here and get a look at the final results. Maybe they are going to celebrate. I don't know, Brandon.
Well, what we do know, by the way, it was only 8 thousandths of a second at the line there for the 24 and the 9. And the top 4 cars all within 75 thousandths of a second. So we wanted some excitement with this new Atlanta. We were trying to figure out what we were going to see. We expected a close finish. We definitely got it here tonight.
Yeah, so let's take a look at those results. You just gave it away there. A very close margin of victory here. Not used to saying 8 thousandths at Atlanta, but man, it was a great race all night long. Logan Joyner comes home 2nd after Jovi Ray claims the win here tonight. Daniel Bowdler wrapping up that podium. Zach Deutscher and Manning rounding out that top 5.
It'll be Joshua Balliet in position number 6. Austin Reedy will finish in 7th. Joshua Susi, we didn't mention his name a whole lot tonight, but he's going to come through in 8th. Nathan De La Rosa will finish in 9th with Ben Park rounding out the top 10.
Yep, Josh Marcy going to come home in 11th. Corey Stahl in 12th. Kyle Ryan will come home 13th tonight with Josh Siegfried getting 14th. Paul Gallimore coming home in 15th.
Jack Johnson will be in 16th place. Cole Martin will be our 17th finisher. Bobby Anderson will finish in position number 18. Vincent Cortez in 19th. And Bo Tiffany will round out the top 20 out of 29 that finished on the lead lap.
So let's go ahead, get to the broadcast post-race interview here, and bring up Daniel Ballard, who just had a fantastic night here. So Daniel, congratulations. Your best finish since returning, I do believe, here in Season 4. Good to see you up here in the booth. Tell us about that race here tonight, man. Compare it to Atlanta of the past. How different was it out there?
Oh, man, it's way different, just good to be back with some old teammates of mine and being able to get up front again. We just want to reassert the dominance here on these plate tracks if we can.
Well, it definitely helped out having that relationship there with Jovi and Logan as all three, once you got up front, and we kind of saw that outside line move and then kind of got blocked off that little bit around midway. But once you guys got out in front, it was all just complete control. What was that like out there trying to kind of mirror drive that little bit and trying to keep everybody behind y'all as you're all going side by side?
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was pretty much all out front of the window there. I think Logan probably had to deal with a little bit more of the mirror driving, but we just knew we had to keep it tight, keep it together so nobody could push a 3-wide issue, without causing a big pile up. And, man, I tell you what, though, that ending there when they went 3-wide to the outside, you want to talk about getting tight like you haven't experienced all night when they got to your right rear. That was pretty wild. I thought maybe we were going to wad them up, but luckily we came through and ended up 1-2-3.
Yeah, and I mean, that's going to be a great night as far as the team standings go. Before we get to the sponsors and any thank yous you have, I'm curious to know, as you kind of skipped out last season with some other duties going on in your real life, but coming back here, how are you enjoying this team championship so far with kind of the kind of fantasy football style we're doing here?
Yeah, we started off a little bit slow, but we're starting to get a little more, chemistry in the team here and getting back to where we should be. So hopefully this momentum keeps up and maybe we'll get back in the groove of it.
Well, before we let you go, like I said, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you're looking to give a shout out to here tonight?
Oh yeah, first of all, gotta thank Silverback Tax Solutions for coming out and supporting me this year. It's good to have them help me get back in this again, and PVR, the whole team there. Everybody does a fantastic job, and the return of my number one spotter tonight, Jake Rowell, coming in clutch there at the end for me.
Okay, well, congratulations, man, and good to see you back up here in the booth. Have fun celebrating a good run here tonight. We'll see you next week.
Oh, yeah, boys. Thank you.
All right, so that was a familiar name we're used to seeing here in Speed Racing Network. Daniel Ballard coming home, P number 2. So let's go bring up his teammate now and move Logan Joyner up here to the broadcast booth. Logan, how's it going, man? Congratulations on a great run. Coming home second here tonight. Dominated the front with your teammates. How much fun did you have out there?
Oh, that was a blast. That last 30 laps felt like about 2 hours, though.
Well, tell me, man, what's the difference? I asked Daniel the difference from the old Atlanta to the new one. I think it's pretty obvious, but in the cockpit, man, how much tenser is it for 90 laps around this track?
Oh, it's definitely very intense. It's like Talladega and Daytona on steroids because it's so much tighter. There's not as much room. There's no room to really pass, and you got to have track position. And once we got up front, I feel like we could, control the front of the pack. And good thing that I had Jovi and Bowdler. They're experts at the super speedway racing thing. So I didn't really care who won. I just wanted one of us to win, and it came out perfect 1-2-3 for Phoenix Virtual Racing.
Well, it was obviously a great night for the team, and one of the things I asked Daniel, and he kind of said it was more on you on this one, but once y'all kind of started that side-by-side, kind of trying to control both of those lanes there, my big question to him was what was it like trying to keep everybody behind you and trying to keep everybody from trying to make that 3 wide until the very end? He said that fell more on you, so I guess I should be asking you that question.
Yeah, it was very difficult. With the red line rule, you could only put 2 tires below the red line through the tri-oval and the backstretch, so it was keeping it painted on that, red line. So it was very difficult because it was getting loose going through the tri-oval, trying to yank it down after going through the first dog leg just to keep it down from them getting a run on me. So, that was very tense, but we got it done. So.
Yeah, you certainly did, and good to see you back here in Season 4, picking up right where you left off after claiming the championship. And I believe I can't remember. And one of the past seasons,
I believe.
Yeah. But before we let you go, man, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to my parents. I know they're watching tonight, and Phoenix Virtual Racing. Greg, I know you own the team. It's awesome to be a part of this group. Awesome guys. Looking forward to next week and getting back to a normal track. I'm not a big super speedway fan, but it worked out tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of an extra super speedway race on the schedule for everybody. So appreciate the kind words, man, and have fun celebrating with the team tonight. We'll see you next week.
Thank y'all.
All right, so that was Logan Joyner coming home, Pete, number 2. We got one man left to get to, and that's Jovi Ray himself coming home with his second win of the season. Jovi joining us now. Congratulations, Jovi, and hey, welcome back to the party, man. Second win of the season, and you guys dominated out there tonight. Tell me how it was in the car and working with your teammates out here in Atlanta.
Oh man, it felt good running with old teammates. That's what ultimately led to the win. Felt good running with that 6 car again, you know, powerhouse duo on the super speedways. But honestly, that's what it really just came down to, teammates.
Well, hey, you know, we got those 2 wins, the first one at Gateway, and then a very different racetrack here tonight at Atlanta. Next week we go to Richmond. I guess it's a little bit more like Gateway in a sense, but very different type of racetrack as we continue this diverse schedule. You're the first person here with 2 wins in the Xfinity Series this season. What do you like on your chances about making it 3 next week?
I feel a little bit good. As I told Bowdler, I'm going for that title for SRN's Xfinity's most winningest driver. I'm getting there close and almost there soon. Yeah, that's the goal now.
It's getting pretty crowded up there, so I think you put Mr. Bowdler on notice. But yeah, starting to stack them up here. We'll see when you get out there next week. But before we let you go, Joe, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a quick shout out to?
Shout out to the boys at Phoenix Virtual Racing for letting us join the team and bringing home the dub. Told them we were gonna show we're like the best team, and this is just the beginning. Shout out to the boys, Bowdler and Logan and Joshua in the call. I mean, that was amazing, calling from the green flag to the checkered. And shout out to you guys for always hosting this. Always amazing time. Thank you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man, and best of luck when we see you out there next week. Go have fun, celebrate with the guys. I see they're still waiting with you down there in the waiting room, so have a good night, man.
Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
All right, Brandon, just like that. It was a lot quicker night than we were anticipating, only seeing 3 cautions out here in a 90-lap race at Atlanta. But, man, that was a hell of a way to cap off Week 5. Great race here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a 55-minute race to complete those 90 trips around Atlanta Motor Speedway. I feel like for some of these guys, it felt more like 2 hours out there on the racetrack, as stressful as that race was to watch from up here. And I'm thinking I don't have too long until I've got to deal with that in the Cup side, actually. So can't wait till we get to that. But before we even do that, next time up, it's Richmond here for the Xfinity cars in the Silverback Tax Series. And man, if we're going from one extreme to the other here with our first real short track of the season.
Yeah, and our next race is going to be 1.5 miles in itself, kind of like Atlanta. We're going to be at Texas Motor Speedway in the Cup Series come Tuesday. So same time, same place. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well as that little bell so you know exactly when we go live. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. For myself, Brandon Domain, all the admins, the drivers, everybody here at Speed Racing Network, we wish you guys a good night and go faster.